I mean, the tagline says it all: with dreams like these, who needs reality?
Coming to you from a basement studio somewhere down under, it's the 80s Show with Australia's Retro Man. On tonight's show, Retro Man does a retrospective on the classic 80s teen movie, Dream a Little Dream. Well, what are we waiting for? Lights, camera, Retro Man!
G'day YouTubers, Retro Man here, and welcome to another episode of the 80s Show. Now, if you grew up in the 1980s, it was almost impossible to sidestep the euphoria surrounding the two Coreys. That's right, Corey Haim and Corey Feldman were a formidable duo in that decade. They were starring in films together, they were appearing on the covers of teen magazines, and of course, they were in the headlines. The film I'll be talking about today is this one here, Dream a Little Dream. It's recently been released on Blu-ray. If you've been watching the channel, you will have found that I did an unboxing video not long ago, and this is it, the Vestron Collector's Series. Beautiful artwork on the front. That's the original movie poster. It's quite different, as you can see. Dream a Little Dream is not your traditional body swap film, nor is it your usual teen comedy, and it's certainly different from anything that the two Coreys ever did. Now, this film began life under the title Long Before Tomorrow. That's right, it changed to Dream a Little Dream later, and this film was directed by a guy called Mark Rocco. Now, prior to this film, Mark had directed an independent rock and roll flick called Scenes from a Gold Mine, and that film starred Cameron Dye and Catherine Mary Stewart. Now, this film, as I understand it, its inception grew from a discussion between Feldman and director Mark Rocco. Feldman wanted to break out into his own starring vehicles, and this is certainly a starring vehicle for Feldman. It's more so that than your usual buddy film with him and Haim, and he tried to prove that he had some acting chops. I think that was the idea of this thing. It has quite a number of dramatic moments. Not only that, we get Feldman dance to his usual Michael Jackson style dance sequence. Now, Feldman had carved out quite an interesting filmography before starring in this. He was the little kid in Gremlins, then he moved on to the blockbuster The Goonies, where he played Mouth, and after that he was Teddy in Stand By Me, and then he scored the role of one of the Frog Brothers in The Lost Boys. So he really was working hard at this point. And actually it was on the set of The Lost Boys where he hooked up with Corey Haim. And shortly after that they become known as the two Coreys, and they dug in and starred in License to Drive. And that was their big double team film. Along for the ride in that was Heather Graham. And License to Drive was a bit of a minor hit. And it sort of seemed from there on that they would just keep appearing in films together. But what happened was this didn't start as a double team film. It actually began life as a solo Feldman film, and also amazingly Jennifer Connelly was going to appear in this film with Feldman, and somehow as the production got delayed and things lingered on a little while, she stepped away to work on another project, and then it just became a Corey Feldman starring vehicle. And shortly after this they were doing auditions to see who would play opposite Feldman, and one of Feldman's buddies came in and auditioned and scored the role, and then a girl by the name of Layla Sloatman, who was dating Corey Haim at the time, came in to audition for a small role. I think it was Shelley. And what happened was Haim walked in with Sloatman, and the director said, "Oh, hang on, are you Corey Haim?" And Haim all of a sudden auditioned, and then next minute Feldman's other buddy was out of the picture and Haim was in the film, so then all of a sudden it became a Corey Feldman and Corey Haim film. So it didn't actually start like that, but it wound up like that. And amazingly, just before they started filming, Haim got in a moped accident and broke his foot. And then next minute, Haim turns up on the set and he's limping around and his foot's in a cast. So that wasn't written on the page. That became something that happened au naturel. So anyway, Dream a Little Dream is a quirky high school flick with an eccentric supporting cast. Alongside Haim and Feldman, we have Jason Robards, Piper Laurie, Harry Dean Stanton, and of course we have Meredith Salinger. Now Meredith Salinger took over from Jennifer Connelly when she stepped back, and you may remember her from the Disney flick The Journey of Natty Gann. That film also starred John Cusack. So Salinger became the Connelly character, and it's quite interesting really how these casting elements come about. And I think Salinger did a good job in this. In fact, everyone did their bit, but it's a rather unusual film. I must warn you, if you've never seen it, don't expect something like License to Drive. It's certainly different. Feldman is quite emotional in this film. You get something else with his performance. Haim is actually very funny. He plays the sidekick perfectly. So like I mentioned earlier, this is not your traditional body swap film. It's more a mind swap film, and Feldman swaps minds with Jason Robards, and it's very mystical, very fantastical. Call it what you will. It's a bit of an oddball romp, this film. And if you're a fan of Haim and Feldman, what can I say? You get a lot of banter between the two, all these quirky, offbeat conversations. The girls are good in this, the music is great, and this film has definitely developed over the years some cult status. It wasn't exactly a hit at the box office. I think it made about 5 or so million. But over time, cable screenings, TV screenings, VHS actually helped this film out a lot. And now it's something of a cult flick. And if you want to check out Haim and Feldman in a film, you really can't go wrong with Dream a Little Dream. It's edgy, it's certainly different, but it's them in their prime. All of these quirky elements come together to make Dream a Little Dream quite an interesting little dramedy in the Haim and Feldman canon. So that's it, guys. This is Retro Man signing off for the 80s show. Stay gold.
Thanks for watching. Retro Man will return faster than a boomerang and more powerful than Corey Haim's 1978 Ferrari in License to Drive. And remember, please subscribe. Good night.